The player count has always been a mystery with Enlisted, but is the number of players the problem? What's up, scholars? It's your professor here, Enlightened Enlisted, and today's video, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with a deep dive into the data we have for Enlisted. I did a ton of research for this video, talking to game developers and their business and understanding their concerns and the industry as a whole. So let's get into this video. For the past 8 months, I have been communicating with 3 different development companies, all of which are working on free-to-play first-person shooters. While all these games are in different stages of development, these 2 words kept coming up in our talks: growth and retention. While growth is easy to see and track, retention seems to be more of an important metric. It was explained to me that basically the longer a company gets you to play or be on their product, the more likely you are to pull out your wallet. To quote one of the game developers, he said, "Successful games always have a replayability." Growth is expanding your potential earning pool and replacing players who have left the game for whatever reason. So in a perfect world, you would have the highest amount of growth while retaining all those new players. Now the big question is, well, is Enlisted doing that? Now I do want to give a disclaimer here, I don't have access to any of the backend data from darkflow. They just aren't going to give me that information. And with this game not being on a third-party open source platform like Steam, I just can't find that data myself. However, if you're an Enlisted dinosaur like I am, you would recall the Operation Battle Summer and Operation Fiery November events that we had last year, both of which had a participation result posted on their website. I used this data to see some interesting trends. So let's look at the Operation Battle Summer. It had 4 rewards: the Focke-Wulf 189, swords, the Stuart Rhino tank, and the PPK-42 assault squad. You could unlock all of these by completing 24 tasks from the dates of July 9th to July 19th of 2021. According to the results that were posted on their website, there were over 200,000 participants in this event. If this number is unique players, that would mean that over 120,000 players did absolutely nothing with this event, because there was only a little over 91,500 rewards actually given out. As to be expected, most people unlocked the Focke-Wulf 189, the first reward, and then there was a steady drop off all the way up to the PPK-42 squad, a drop off of 21,802 players to be precise. Now that number of participants is actually kind of misleading. It doesn't mean people that actually participated in the event, it means everyone that's actually playing the game. When you look at it in that kind of context, the math adds up, because half the player base didn't really do anything, and that makes sense. They either didn't know about it or they didn't care about the rewards. So why is that important to us? Well, we can take that number and we know that the event was 10 days long. So if we take the number of participants and we divide it by 10, we know that there is roughly 21,206 players online in those 10 days for each day, which if you think about it isn't a bad thing, because that makes us 1/4 of the player base to Enlisted's older brother, War Thunder.
So you do have a plan? Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
Alright, so this is where it gets hairy. 253 days later, we had the Operation Fiery November, which claims to have the astronomical number of 500,000 participants in a 17-day period, which means that basically we would have 33,000 players on Enlisted at any given time. And if those numbers are 100% truthful, then that means we are getting 1,300 players making accounts and starting their journey in Enlisted every day. Now this is obviously not the case, as it is mathematically impossible, because that would mean that the player base would be one of the largest gaming community, adding over 360,000 players since the Operation Fiery November. And this leads back to the start of the video, retention. Remember how I said in the video that retention is the most important metric for the game's success, because the longer you play the game, the more likely you are to pull out your wallet? Well, I also said it's the hardest metric to track, and Enlisted is no exception. Again, I'm going to use the events to try to give you guys a bigger picture, but this isn't exactly a science, as we are missing a huge part of the puzzle. When we look at Operation Battle Summer's reward distribution, we saw a steady drop off of players claiming the first reward from the last, but with the Operation Fiery November event, we don't have the first 2 event rewards being shown as how many people claim them. The last rewards, the PPK-42, had 14,235 players claim it, and only 14,200 players claimed the New Zealand squad in the Operation Fiery November event. So that would show that there is not not any increase of retention of all these new players. But the problem with that is that the New Zealand squad was 13 tasks to unlock, where the PPK-42 Assault Squad was only 8. And unfortunately, with all the new events that we've had that darkflow has given us, we haven't had any information that shows how many participants we've had. The closest thing we've had is the April Fool's Moon mission, and that only went with the number of victories, which we can't use as any kind of metric because we don't know how those teams are comprised of. What if half of them were bots? And what about all the players that just kept playing that event? And this is where you're going to have to look at your individual experience, because if you've been playing this game long enough, you know that the games have become increasingly one-sided. I believe that's because we have new players coming in, but not staying. This is causing a gap of the haves and the have-nots. Think about it this way: if you're playing this game long enough, you've probably maxed out 1 or 2 campaigns. You are invested in the game. You took all that time. You're not going to leave the game because that would mean you would waste all that time. Now, newer players are coming in to replace the lost players who got frustrated with this game and went elsewhere. And that leaves the middle left wide open. Now it's become a seal clubbing affair of newer players trying to compete with the veteran community. Some will make it to the top, but it reminds me of the baby sea turtles trying to make it to the sea. Some will make it, but most won't. This is my concern with Enlisted. The growth is there, but the retention isn't. Thanks for watching today's video, and let me know what you guys think. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, scholars, hit those books and hit those bottles. Cheers.